Welcome, everyone. If you're tuning in from home, this is the Police Transition Committee meeting, our first meeting of this committee, and the time is 6:30 on September 16th. So thanks, everyone, for joining. We have an informal agenda this evening as we're getting organized. We're going to start with introductions from folks who are on the committee. Corporal Clark cannot be here this evening, but he's going to catch up on the recording, and Mayor Harding will be a few minutes late. After introductions, we're going to go over the goals of the committee as approved by council, so a document that council voted on back in May, and then kind of how we're going to share documents and collaborate and some sunshine reminders. Then we're going to have a Q&A informally with Chief Golden. Thank you, Chief Golden, for being here and giving us your time this evening. Idea sharing amongst us. So I'm sure we've all been thinking about this topic since we were added to the committee, and how do we think we're going to satisfy those goals? I know Mr. Moan, you've been emailing a little bit, so maybe he can start us on that topic, and then also considering if we want to form some small groups, since we can only meet monthly in a televised fashion, who would like to chair this committee. And then finally, we'll have public comment at the end. Thank you, public, for joining us from 7:10 to 7:20. We are going to try to end at 7:20 so that we can get situated for our council meeting that begins at 7:30. Any additions or changes to the agenda, the proposed agenda? All right, let's start introductions down on this end with Manager Johnson, please.
Paula Johnson.
You want to say your role, maybe how long you've lived in the borough?
I've lived in the borough for almost 36 years. So I am a resident and the borough manager as well.
Thanks. Ori Feiner. First, thanks. It's nice to see people here. It's so crucial that the public is involved in this process, so that's very encouraging. I'm the Vice President of Council currently, serving my fourth term on and off. I've served on all the committees, including public safety, and I've also served on council with Chief O'Neill, Chief Kelly, and Interim Chief Golden. I look forward to helping out. Thank you.
My name is Rami Mahmood. I am a member of the public and a resident of Yardley Walk here in Yardley. I've been in Yardley for 7 years now.
Rich Wayne, I've been in Yardley for 28 years. Also served 3 times on council, and yeah, I'm involved in a lot of volunteer events in town as well.
Hi, my name is Pete Wormajenko. I'm a relatively new borough resident. I moved here in 2021. I spent most of my life over in Mercer County, and after retiring from the Trenton Police Department for 26 years, I saw greener pastures on this side of the river, so here I am.
My name is Caroline Thompson. I am currently president of Yardley Borough Council, and I have also, like Ori, served on every single committee of council, I believe, and I've been a borough resident for 11 years.
My name is Kim. I am currently starting my second term on council. I'm chair of the Public Safety Committee, and I've lived in the borough since 2008, but I lived in this area pretty much my whole life.
Dan Moan. I live on Longshore Avenue. I've been in the borough for about 25 years. I'm a former council member, and in fact, when I was on council was when we hired Chief Will Golden. Looking forward to digging into this and figuring out what we want to do.
And so Corporal Clark is our police liaison member, so we wanted to appoint one person who's a member of the police force to serve with us. I was waiting to see if that was Mayor Harding coming in. It's not, but Mayor Harding is also on the committee as head of the police force in his elected capacity. Chief Golden, would you like to introduce yourself, folks?
So I'm Interim Chief William Golden. I've had the great pleasure of serving the residents of Yardley Borough for the past 20 years, and now have the great honor of being Interim Chief for the town.
Great. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Excited to get started. So I have shared this document with the committee, but just for the folks in attendance, if you didn't watch some of the previous council meetings. The formation of the Police Transition Committee, our definition and scope is the Police Transition Committee is tasked with evaluating the current and future policing needs of the borough. The committee will review the department structure, staffing, and service delivery, analyze options for maintaining an independent police department or exploring shared services models with other municipalities, considering legal, operational, and financial impacts, engage stakeholders, including officers, staff, council members, and residents, to ensure transparency and build community trust, conduct a financial and operational review of the current police budget, staffing costs, and long-term sustainability under various service models, provide a written recommendation to Borough Council outlining findings, rationale, and a recommended path forward, including an implementation roadmap, and the committee will operate as a recommending body to council. While members may build consensus around issues, the committee has no voting authority, and all final decisions rest with the Borough Council. Does any member of the committee have any questions about that guiding document or those mission statements? So I imagine as we begin to work on this, we're going to have a lot of questions, documents that we need. And I suggest we do that within Yardley Borough's file sharing app, and we can invite all of your emails to that, and you can just drop documents or request documents. Our primary contact request documents will be Manager Johnson. Even if they're requests for Chief Golden, she'll be the primary person to kind of collect that. So previous to like the reorganization of this committee, we had already started to pull a lot of financials, because that's really the primary and first thing we want to look at. What's the current financial state of our police force? What are the projections in the next year, in the next 5 years, and how can we maintain an independent police force? How can we support the financial needs of our police force given current taxes, future taxes, et cetera? And I hope that this committee will be a creative committee in terms of solutions to our budgeting shortfalls. I know back when the EIT was suggested, I guess it's been eight or 9 years now, there was a budget resident advisory committee that was formed after the EIT finally failed. And we still refer to some of the things that budget resident advisory committee came up with. They were creative, they were outside the box, reporting changes, cost savings changes. So I'm really excited about what these new minds at this table are going to come up with. Are there any other collaboration tools that anyone would like to throw out there or suggest? I'm just getting kind of housekeeping matters out of the way to start.
Could you describe this app that you were talking about?
Yeah, it's just
like a
Microsoft
share drive?
OneDrive.
Oh, it's a shared drive.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you can read and edit and drop things in, yeah, shared drive. And just a reminder, anything you place there is subject to right to know. So it actually makes it really easy for all of us if everything's in one place. If we get a right to know request, provide everything that's on the drive, and that's done. Sunshine reminders, again, this was sent by email. If you have any specific questions about the sunshine requirements, we can direct those to our solicitor, but we meet as a full committee during our advertised time, which is the third Tuesday of every month at 6:30 in council chambers until right before the start of our council meeting. We are able to meet in small working groups outside of that, as long as a quorum of the committee does not exist in that working group. Any questions about that? Oh, also emails. So we can talk about like, hey, when are we meeting? Or I'm going to be absent emails with everyone copied. That's no issue. But if we're talking about the meat and the potatoes of the committee, the business of the committee, we should not copy the full committee on those. All right, so I'm going to pause there and turn it over to Chief Golden. Spoke a little bit with Chief Golden about this, but already, and I think his preference is that if anybody has any questions about current state of the force or where specific pain points in the budget are, he's a resource for us this evening, and he has offered to be a resource for us going forward, which is very kind of him. So does anybody have any questions for Chief Golden? Or does anybody want to go over anything that we haven't gone over yet before we jump into Q&As? I don't want to...
I have a question for the chief, if nobody else has anything else right now. So it's been about a month and a half since this committee has been formed, or maybe 2 months. And if we're meeting once a month, I'm not sure exactly how long this whole process is going to take. But could you discuss the effects of the timing of this committee on the borough police force as far as operations go? What challenges are you facing? Excuse me. What challenges are you facing, mostly with personnel, as you take on your new job and make sure that our streets are patrolled, knowing that this whole state of flux of the future is that what I'm trying to understand is what type of urgency the committee should be working at in order to not negatively affect your ability, in the short term at least, to run your department.
So with everything that's been going on with the transition committee, and since I took office, I believe in August, was it? Before this happened, we did lose one full-timer to Upper Makefield Township before this even happened, and we've lost one full-timer since it's happened. So as in, is this causing me a grieve status, as in personnel? Particularly, no. Is it still hard getting part-timers on board with every other agency right now? The bigger agencies hiring full-time? Yes. But with that, we have been doing everything in our power, such as social media, the police app, and I have emailed a couple of the academies for prospective prospects for part-time work. We have one in the tunnel now who's on his way, and I have reached out to 2 more today who should be hopefully coming on board in the near future. The morale has been staying up. I mean, of course, with conversations going on, me as their leader, it's very imperative that I keep that morale up. Is there questions amongst the men and women? Absolutely. But council has spoke with me privately, and we have some meetings set up to where they will also speak with the staff and talk to them about certain things that are going on and what could be in this foreseeable future. So council has been very much hand in hand as a whole with me and my office and with them as well.
So in your mind, what would be a best case scenario timeline for this committee to reach its conclusions and present them to council? A month, 3 months, 6 months, a year? What would you like to see?
So if as the chief, my personal opinion, I would, again, like to see, maybe have this done before any budget gets finalized, so I know where I sit in my boat with any line items and cuts that may be made. So hopefully before any budget's resolved on, hopefully there's an answer with the committee.
So that'd be
hopefully, not saying it has to.
That timetable is November, correct?
Our final budget vote is in December,
December.
but if we could,
It needed to be
advertise in November, and if we make substantive changes, we have to kind of start over again. I'd also just dovetail on what Chief Golden was talking about. For those who don't know, we have a collective bargaining agreement with our full-time officers, and this happens to be, when it rains, it pours, everything is happening, all the decisions need to be made this year, so our collective bargaining agreement is up this year, and we are actively moving ahead. Kim Siegel-Mars, as head of public safety, is leading that charge to move forward with that negotiation with our full-time officers as if this was not happening, because we need to have our officers paid, we need to give them increases, and we need to have their contract in full force. So that's business as usual.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other
One question.
questions?
Chief, it sounds like you have a few full-time vacancies. Are there any plans to hire for them at this time, or are you waiting the outcome of the committee?
Actually, I believe we just took the test. Was it yesterday, PJ?
Friday.
Friday?
Friday.
Friday, yes. We just did the full-time test, and I believe we'll have those results from the testing company maybe within a few days, maybe early next week.
However, Chief Golden's sergeant position is open, so I think we're kind of holding that one open for now. If we can, if the staffing plan is not super under duress, but the other full-time position we're moving forward and filling.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, this may or may not be appropriate for today, it's sort of an organizational meeting, but It would be great if the chief could do kind of an overview of how everything functions today, how that compares to the way neighboring communities function, how it functioned historically, or any thoughts you might have about how it could function in future, just sort of an overview. Now, again, that may not be an organizational thing for today, but at some point it'd be very nice to get that.
Okay. I can have that ready for next meeting if you would all like.
Is everyone aware of like, the size of our department and things like that? Because we can certainly go over those things today. I don't want to assume anything of anybody's knowledge. But I think that was shared in the documents.
The document shared like budget lines, but it didn't really describe functionally how things operate.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Any other questions for others on the committee or for Chief Golden? There are no bad questions. I'm sure if you have the questions, someone out in the public also has the questions, so.
I do have a thought, a question that if it's interesting to other people, I think it would be interesting to see over the last 10 years what percentage the police budget has been of the overall borough budget, to understand if there's a trend there, or just, to give us some context for where we're at this moment.
That should be pretty easy to know.
Yeah.
So can I just add to what you just asked? I think it'd be helpful if possible, and I don't know, Chief Golden, if this is possible, but if you have a way of estimating how you expect that to change in future, in other words, is the inflation rate in the costs of what we need to do in the police budget similar to what the inflation rate is likely to be for the overall borough budget, or not? Because we can look backward, but we're trying to project forward even more.
How many years are you thinking forward? 5, 10?
I mean, even a few years is better than not at all. So that would be based on, yeah.
And I think to Lori's point about percentage of budget, there's been some mention during public comment in our council meetings that the percentage of the budget has grown in recent years, but also the sentiment that we want to maintain the level of service that we have in present day. So really digging into not just the percentage number, but what was added to get there, and did the other parts of the budget, not police-related, change significantly? Because we've been doing large grants that we maybe didn't used to do. The grants that we're doing are much larger than they used to be, and so that total number, that total pot has changed significantly. So making sure we're not comparing apples to oranges.
Good point.
Carolyn, may I ask another question? And again, this may not be right for an organizational meeting, but if we're thinking about the budget, it's going to be a function of how much comes in, not just how much goes out. And are there forward-looking projections for that? That's not the responsibility of the police department, that's a community function.
Yeah, it's difficult. So our primary income is flat unless we raise taxes. So it's a set millage that we get from folks. One of the biggest thing that changes from year to year is our real estate transfer tax, which is really hard to project out further than even 6 months because it's dependent on the economy and the housing market. We have gotten a lot better at projections in recent years, so I feel pretty confident that our 12-month projections are pretty solid, but beyond that, we just show trend lines. Other questions? Okay, well, we can come back and ask more questions later, but I'd love to hear some preliminary thoughts from folks on the committee about how we'd like to start taking bites at the apple here. What do we think is the best plan of attack between now and we actually have we call them 5 Tuesday months, so there'll be 3 weeks before our next council meeting. So 5 weeks until our next committee meeting for this committee. So how can we accomplish and what can we accomplish in those next 5 weeks?
have some ideas.
Awesome, let's hear them.
So it seems to me like there are 4, 5, 6 particular options that that we want to explore. And before we decide on those, but the general idea is, if we're going to meet a timeline that is beneficial to our department from a standpoint of certainty and morale and those types of things, I'm hearing that by November, we want to basically be making a recommendation to the council. And I know the last time they did this, it was like a year. And given that we're only meeting for 50 minutes once a month, that means there are 2 meetings left, right? So I feel like maybe we should enunciate what those options are, and then 2 or 3 people, 1 person, depending on what the option is, can basically attack those items between those 2 meetings and start gathering the information and making presentations on the different options to the committee and to the public. I don't see any other way. I don't see any way we're coming to a decision in November, if that's the goal, by meeting for 50 minutes and 50 minutes, an hour and a half. I don't think that's possible. So I think we need to break everything up, and we all need to, outside of this, do the research and make presentations back to the committee next meeting, right? For people to start thinking about it. If our goal is November.
I don't really think that goal is attainable, do you? That's not really giving us much time to really do a comprehensive look and research in order, like, I understand where Chief Golden wants stuff solidified by the end of the year, but to really do a good deep dive into this and really dig in, I think it's going to take a little time. I don't think this is something that should be rushed. If it goes, the budget's going to be the budget, no matter what, whatever gets cut or not cut. This is too important to rush and try to get done in 2 months. There's going to be too much stuff to look at. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for some of our newer members that really haven't done something like this. I think we take our time. Why rush? It is what it is. Their contract, the CBA, is going to be done hopefully within a month or 2, and they're going to continue to get paid. The department's going to be there. We need to do a comprehensive look at this. Take our time. Don't rush, because nothing good could come out of anything that's rushed, in my opinion.
Perhaps in 8 or 10 weeks, though, we can eliminate options.
Sure.
And I think that could be the goal, and if you start with many options and you get it down to 2, that gives us a lot clearer idea on budget than if we have 5 options that we're kicking around. So if the order of operations would be like an elimination war path for the next 5 weeks, that might be a good place to start, because we don't want to waste a year considering things that are not going to be good for this town.
I mean,
I think, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, just, I'm going to go out here and just bring the white elephant into the room. I think the option that is most attractive to deal with, and potentially, from my perspective, just my own perspective, to eliminate, is that we're going to disband the police. Now, I am coming with a viewpoint on it. And basically, it's kind of like, we have the vast majority, which you'll see if you haven't looked at the budget yet, of our costs is labor. And that labor is boots on the ground in Yardley Borough. So if you outsource that to a department that pays its people more, the only way that could be cheaper, really, or substantially cheaper, is less boots on the ground in Yardley Borough. There's, the reality of physics takes over. So if we could quickly identify what the parameters are required, like when I go door to door, people are like, now I've been going around campaigning, and I hear, multiple stories of police arriving within a minute. So because they're within 1 square mile in the area. So is that a parameter? Like, what are the parameters that we are requiring? Okay, now we know what those parameters are. We agree that that's what we want to shop to other departments. Okay, now let's get that. This is what we need. What would it cost another department to service that at that level? And if we could bring that back and the committee could see what that number looks like, and basically, for me, again, just my personal view, hopefully to say, no, that option's out. Well, that's one less thing. Good. Now we can dive in and figure out with the remaining options, how do we pay for what we're retaining, and what creative things we come up with to improve things. So that would be my preference, to move that part first. And if there's enough of us, maybe we could figure out a way to do that efficiently so it could get done quickly, and potentially the Yardley Borough Police Department knows they're going to keep their jobs. Or they're not, but either way, they'll find that quickly.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, we had a police transition committee 12 or so years ago. And one of the things they considered was outsourcing, and the numbers came back that it did not offer the borough the significant savings that we anticipated it offered the borough. And I think it's important to have that data so that you can cross it off the list knowing we checked, because there are some residents out there who have asked us to check in the past, and we were able to refer back to that. We did collect this data, and it's actually not a significant cost savings. So that's one idea, but you were mid-thought. You want to continue on your line?
No, I don't disagree with what Paula said. I mean, there are 9 of us, right? So that is a fairly good-sized team, and I know that no one's doing this full-time. So, but I think the first thing that we need to decide is, what is our timeline, right? If it's not November, in fairness to the chief, we should kind of set a goal for when this is all going to happen, so he can manage what he's doing, with some type of knowledge. As I see it, there are kind of 5 areas that we're going to be looking at, and I'm sure there may be more, but basically no changes, right? And if it's a cost issue, right, we're going to have to find cost savings somewhere else, right? Cost reductions with our current setup, right? That seems like option 2. A partial outsourcing. Outsourcing to the state police at night, or to Lower Makefield at night, or something of that hybrid nature. Full outsourcing, right? We just get rid of it, which Corey had talked about. And I think another important is not one of our areas of research from a standpoint of the police department, but I think is just as valuable is a community outreach portion of it, where we have some people just working on community outreach, and not like, take a poll, but like, hey, let's ask some detailed questions like, how much are you really willing to pay for this level of service? And if we could save 25%, would you be okay with lesser? Those types of questions that are really probing, as opposed to 72% of our residents said that we should get rid of the police force. That type of thing. So I would like to see us break it up something like that. Maybe 2 or 3 of us take up each subject matter. I do like Corey's idea of...
Uri.
Sorry.
Corey's my wife. That's okay.
Yes. Thank you. I do like his idea of addressing the items that are have the most short-term effect on our chief's ability to operate his department. That seems to me like that outsourcing one, though, seems to me like the one that's going to be the most complex, right? Because we're going to have to get pricing and talk to other departments or that type of thing. So that's just my thoughts on how we might want to proceed. But I do think we should put some kind of deadline on ourselves to come up with a recommendation at some point, whatever that is.
So before the committee was restructured, we had subgroups, and they were shared services, assessment, current police department evaluation, community engagement, financial review, and benchmarking in municipal case studies. So similar. So we could either break it up by like data gathering and assessing, or we could break it up by here are our 4 or 5 options. What are folks thinking makes more sense?
I don't have an opinion necessarily about that, but I would say that I personally at least don't feel like I have a good understanding of the requirements, which is a community decision what the requirements are, and the constraints. And I'm sure there are legal constraints and not just financial constraints. And absent understanding of the performance requirements and the constraints, it's very difficult to assess options in a reasonable way. So, and there's more than one way to develop that information, and maybe it's obvious to everybody who's been working on this for years and years, but it feels like there's a lot you need to know before you can just make a decision about which way you want to go, because there's ramifications that affect both the outcomes of what gets done and the costs.
Or alternatively, right, we start getting the research and the data together and we not worry about the blockers, right? So that we're not limiting ourselves. Oh, we can't really do anything like that because of this or because of that, because contracts can change, right? The way the chief runs the office can change. He may not want to run it the same way as Chief Kelly did. So all these variables, I think, will at some point come to fruition, but we need the basic information first, right? Before, you can't just say, I have to analyze the big picture. Let's find out what all this stuff is, right? What is it? What is the cost? What is the, what does this group look at things and say, well, what about this? And what about that? I think that's a better approach than trying to bite it all, basically take it all at once and look at all of the ramifications. Let's just break it up and attack each item. And then eventually, there are going to be blockers for sure, right? The reality is that the police will need a car or 2 or 3, right? So we can't get rid of all the cars, but we can at least look at what those costs are without limiting ourselves to potential blockers.
So do we feel like as we data gather, as we learn more, with or without blockers, we want to break into small groups? That seems like a given, right? Yes. We're not all 10 of us going to work on everything. Okay. Are there any questions or documents or information that folks know they need right now? Or would you prefer to go back and make a comprehensive list? But what are some of the things we're talking about when you say, I don't know? What are some of the things you're looking for?
Are there no legal considerations around the manner in which municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania are permitted to engage in policing activities?
I don't know if I understand your question, so I think, we have our independent force, or some municipalities outsource, or some municipalities regionalize through like a state agency.
So there's only like 3 models that can be adopted? I just made that up. I don't know if that's...
No, I think I understand your question. There are a lot of different, I've dug into it a little bit, and there are actually a lot of different combinations that have been done. But maybe your question, it's more about parameters with unions and that kind of thing.
I am sure that's part of it, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a civil service that triggers once you have enough full-time people in the police.
Yeah.
That might be what you're thinking about. But I think what this committee's purview is not considering that, looking at what are the options. There's only about 5 options that boroughs in Bucks County do.
It'd be good to know,
Okay.
like benchmarking, what are all the things that people do?
Sure.
And maybe there's more than 5, or maybe there's less than 5 as a practical matter, but I don't know.
ones that I had prior were benchmarking municipal case studies was one of the subcommittees, financial review, community engagement, current police department evaluation, and then shared services assessment. Do we want to keep that structure of subcommittees?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I've already done a lot on looking at what the boroughs and how they do their police and how they fund it, so I'd like to be involved in that.
Okay, great. And I think that you should not consider yourself exclusive to wherever you land in terms of a subcommittee. If you find something helpful, please drop it in the document folder so that it can help everyone. Does anybody else have any initial tugs towards any of those, or?
I'd be interested in the current department evaluation.
Great. Okay,
I'll look at full outsourcing. And I can move that along very quickly, hopefully.
and if you've already asked or taken one, feel free to pull in a friend to your committee with you and find a time to meet with them. We do actually have 10 members on the committee, so I think we should just make sure that only 3 of us meet at any given time, just so we don't have too many people. Is anybody interested in chairing this committee? You don't have to decide this evening, but I'm happy to continue to chair the meetings, but also happy to hand it over if somebody else feels called to that position, so. All right, we have 4 more minutes until I had scheduled us to open it up for public comment. I know it seems very jumbled this evening, and we will find our way to organization, I promise. I think once we start getting our hands in the data, the picture is going to make itself clear.
Just
Carolyn?
So go ahead. Go ahead.
Maybe it would be best if you just reached out to individual members and asked them what area they want to serve in, and you can kind of put together the teams.
Sure, happy to do it.
I won't take time here. That was what my question was about that. So I'll just talk to you directly.
Okay, sounds good. All right, anything else, or we can jump to public comment early? All right, would anyone like to provide public comment this evening? If you'd like to, please just come forward and state your name and whether or not you live in Yardley Borough or your association with Yardley Borough. And keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes so we can have as many folks as possible talk this evening. Dr. Perlmutter.
Thank you. I'm going to make additional public comment at the council meeting regarding how you undermine the chain of command when you appointed an officer. But I would like to address the fact that you're going to be meeting a lot. And when you said share file, that should be made public. I shouldn't have to do all these right-to-know requests to get information that everybody should have. And I have been doing the right-to-know requests, and from reading your emails, you're going out of your way to instruct people on how to avoid doing things that would become public. So if you're going to have all of these different committees, which obviously you're going to have, why don't you make that file public so everybody can see what's going on before they come to these meetings? The other thing I'd like to say is that I know Manager Johnson would like this to be a year-long thing, but how would you like to not know if you're going to have a job for a year? I mean, why don't you just get that part over with and then talk about the budget for the next year? This is really, I know Chief Golden was describing how you have lost some officers, but it is a retention problem. Who's going to come to a department not knowing if there's going to be a department? So I would think that by November, you can at least decide that you're not going to disband, and that Chief Golden, you're not going to be, you didn't address this, you addressed it before, that Chief Golden is not, you're not going to do a search committee for another chief. I mean, why not just make him permanent right now? That's a whole nother issue that is problematic here. So I think you wouldn't like not knowing if you have a job. And it's very stressful on people, and it's not good for morale. And you really just, there's no reason why you can't make that decision right away. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments this evening? Mr. Bailey, welcome.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is William Bailey. I'm currently employed as a part-time police officer with Yardley Borough. My tenure here is 24 years. I'm the longest tenured officer in the department. I just want to remind the committee that if they chose to dissolve the police department and get rid of assets, it would probably be impossible for this borough to ever reconstitute a police department again. I just want the committee to keep that in mind. You know, my tenure here probably is not going to extend more than 5 years, regardless of what the committee decides, because I'm getting old. But, you know, the tradition, the history of the department, the continuity of it. When I started, Paula's father-in-law was mayor under Chief O'Neill, who had just become chief. And now Chief Golden has my support as the third chief I've served under. There is a history, there's a continuity, there is a symbiotic relationship between the department and the town that we have to keep in mind. And again, once that's broken, I don't think you'd ever be able to put it back, not with the assets and the capital the borough has. So, thank you.
That's a great point. So, Officer Billy, we looked into a little bit of this back before we reformed the committee around benchmarking, and we tried to pull numbers around restarting a police force, and it doesn't appear, not at least in my initial research, like has ever been done successfully, and not at an astronomical cost. So that's, to your point about legal constraints, that's definitely one. So if you make a decision and you say, oops, there's no going back. So thank you.
Thank you for your service, too, to our
Did not
community.
Newtown Borough do the same thing? Didn't they out?
Yes, and I believe, and that happened right before I started here.
Yeah.
That Newtown Borough had to reconstitute their police department because they weren't satisfied with the service they were getting through outsourcing. And I believe they had to borrow, with a bond issue, a bunch of money to reconstitute their department.
Astronomical cost, yes.
I'll find out about that. What happened. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other public comment this evening? Oh, I saw ma'am and sir. You can go. Go ahead. Welcome.
My name is Christine Breen, and I've lived in the borough for 30 years. And I think you're talking about the money and the police, the people, coming, like the police, you're saying about different police departments just coming and coming through the borough and using the state police or using Lower Makefield and everything. But no one's talking about crime. You don't have a committee that's looking at crime in the borough. Like the police department, you do a function. You take care of crime. And I don't think you don't have a committee member looking at crime. Break-ins, I know, I read the crime reports, and we see how many people speed through the borough. We see how many people take drugs. We see how many people, even the officers do they take care of us. And none of you are looking at crime. And so if we have the state police take care of us, they're not going to be here. I mean, I've had the police department come to my house, and I was sick. They helped me when I passed out because I fell, and they helped me with going to the hospital. I mean, many times, I've had the police department. I mean, they have been there for me. And if we have, like, the state police, they're not going to be there. My daughter had an accident there 20 years ago, and you were there. You helped my daughter. I mean, the Yardley police are so important to us. And if we had Lower Makefield, they might not be there. They might not be there for people speeding through our township. And they're not going to be there for people taking drugs. You read that, people are taking drugs and they're out there. And you get the people taking drugs. The police are so important to us. And if we do away with our police department, who's going to be there for us? That's what concerns me about the police department. We're acting like, oh, we don't need this police department. Oh, we're not even concerned about crime in our township. And what's going to happen if people know that you can speed through Yardley? I remember when I first came here to Yardley, they didn't have that 25 mile per hour zone out there.
35.
Yes, and it was 35 miles per hour. And people speeded through there, and they would speed all the way through there, and then when they got to Yardley, they still sped through Yardley. And then finally, the people had a petition, and they changed that to 25 miles per hour. And thank God they did. And you think of all the people that were going to start speeding through Yardley, and no one's going to be there to stop them. And back then, there weren't all those restaurants and with people who take alcohol. And so who's going to be there to stop the people leaving here who are drunk? So that's what we have to consider. If we do away with our police department, Lower Makefield probably won't be here, and there's not going to be anyone there to help us. That's my concern. And who's going to be there if someone breaks into our house? We won't have anyone to call. So, and I'd like to really thank Officer Golden. He's always been there for us for all those years. I was so happy when you were made police chief.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, rest assured that we have not covered our data points that we will be collecting this evening. Obviously, in a 50-minute meeting, we have not extensively covered the data points. Crime is certainly something that we need to look at. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, please. Ms. Corsi. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Okay.
I'll be real quick. Yeah, real quick, because I know we're Shirley Corsi, 195 South Canal Street resident, and I just want to say real quick, I don't think anybody at this point is saying, maybe a few, it's going to be this or it's going to be that. I'm hoping that we're going to look at everything. And I also want to back up what the resident just said. I didn't hear about a community outreach segment. I agree. Everything you're looking at, the money, I want to agree with the resident. Make sure we have a strong community outreach. The gentleman did reach about stats, but we're people. So please make sure in your committees we have a community outreach.
Thank you. Sir, please, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rich Hevrilla. I grew up in the borough. I don't currently live in the borough, but I'm going to bring a different perspective for you guys on keeping the police department. So Wrightstown Township is policed by Newtown Township. They, in 2022, had an agreement for $888,000, 5% escalation to continue. Currently, they're about $1,079,000 for police services. Yardley is about 490 less people, but it's still an important comparison because there are a lot of institutions that sell alcohol in the borough, and it is dense for 1 square mile. That cost per person, as a Lower Makefield resident, I will be requesting my supervisors that if you should want to outsource, that cost be $900,000, starting with 5% escalation for the borough, because I'm not going to have a great police department, which Yardley is, and so is Lower Makefield, suffer just so that Yardley Borough can save money. They provide a great service. I worked here 12 years ago. I like being able to know people. It's not going to be the same, but again, the cost is what I want everyone to think about, because I'm not going to have my police budget get increased by 2,600 more people that they now have to police, and I'm not going to get the same service that I know and love right now with Lower Makefield Police Department. So just something to consider, that cost is out there, and it's going to be high. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments this evening? Minor, welcome. This is going to be our last, or maybe one more after this, because we do have a council meeting in about 10 minutes, so please. Okay.
All right, cool. Hi, I'm Corey Feiner. I live at 133 North Main Street. I'm just going to read something that I wrote. Won't be too long, I promise. It is easy to look at all things, it is easy to look at all the things that are not working and lose sight of what we have here. We live in a small historic town by the Delaware River that was founded before America itself. We have stone houses, small streets, an active community of citizens and volunteers, a wholesome downtown full of local businesses and young people, and most of all, we feel safe here. This is partly due, I believe, to the Quaker roots of our forefathers and foremothers who practiced tolerance and acceptance, but also to the day-to-day boots on the ground work of our community, our council, our borough manager, and our local police. In a time that some may call unstable or unsettling, there's a lot of name-calling, silent outward violence, and othering that is so baked in the cake of our language and our lives that it may be hard to notice. But underneath that, I believe, is a day-to-day goodness of most people who are quietly trying to live their lives. I remember well when my husband, Uri Feiner, who you all may know, and my views are my views, and they reflect that only, was on a previous council, and he went to bat for Chief Kelly, or Officer Kelly, to nominate him to be the head of the police of our town. And I have to say, since then, our town has grown, and through shutdowns and political unrest, things have remained safe here, thanks to him and other dedicated police force we have here. And I'm from 1970s New York City, so I take safeties very seriously. And now we are at another impasse, and if there were no other candidate, then I would say it would make sense to have search committee, but it's become clear that Golden is the obvious choice. Therefore, there's no reason to continue our search with that matter. And as far as the idea that we cannot afford our own police force, I have to say whatever we think we will save now, we will pay for later with our sense of our safety and our small town feel. If it's a matter of budget, I say, and I'm not a numbers person, I'm a poet, as you all know, that if you look at costs, we can figure out where there is waste, where there is bloat, and where we can outsource certain expenditures, but not with our staff. A town needs a station to walk into to be welcomed by police officers who know us and care about us and our streets. If we outsource this, then, as I said before, we pay with more than our wallets, but with our sense of safety. And you can't put a price tag on that. And once we lose that, it's hard to get back.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Rabina, and then we're going to close this meeting for the evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Frederick Rabina, 35 South Main Street, the business that has the Save Yardley Borough Police on the sidewalk here. I wanted to bring a little bit of context to those that are here on this committee, as well as to the public. Back in 2023, after the budget meeting, the council, because of the amount of questions that came in about the budget, said that if anybody wanted to speak with council afterwards to go over the budget, that they would meet. So myself and a gentleman named Al met with two council members and reviewed over the budget. And the big concern was back then that 80% of the town's budget was public safety for the police. So we felt that we would just meet and kind of go through it. It was a very good meeting. We understood the cost of things. And then Subsequently, in that meeting, and Councilman Applebaum was one of the members there, the suggestion came that why don't we propose to council to do a financial exercise. That financial exercise is exactly what you guys are doing now. We proposed that we would volunteer our time, put together some information to see exactly what the cost is now versus surrounding departments taking over the town. At that point, Caroline switched that narrative, and you changed it that we're not going to get rid of Chief Kelly. So in February of '23, you can clearly read both your comments and my comments in the patch where you switched that narrative. And I felt like that was despicable, what you did. Now, here we are here, a few council meetings ago, this committee, which shouldn't be called a transition committee, this is a financial exercise that you guys are doing. And I believe you drafted what you read, but it was changed at that meeting, am I right? It was changed, the wording, because you put transition to Lower Makefield Township.
No, this is the new version that we voted on in
But the
May,
original one,
back
correct?
back in March.
Yes, the one that you drafted. So in that original draft, you put that you wanted to transition,
We have to move into our council meeting. One more minute for your comment.
you wanted to transition the borough, the police department to Lower Makefield.
The committee would consider that, yes.
That was the words, that were your words, okay?
Among
That you
saying-
drafted.
among
All right,
saying-
I didn't draft it, you drafted it.
No, I
So
didn't
they
say I
changed
wanted
it
to.
at the
That's not
council meeting.
correct.
And we can watch the council meeting and everybody can watch it and see, all right? So that is the context. I want to make sure everybody understands that 2 years ago, you did not want to do this exercise and you made it something else. Now, the town does not want the police department to leave. It's clear. You should change the name of this because it's not a transition. And you should make Chief Golden the chief. I think the public is pretty clear of your political motives.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your thoughts this evening.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the Police Transition Committee meeting?
So moved.
Motion was made and seconded. Meeting adjourned at 7:27. We'll take a quick stretch break, and then we'll be back in 3 minutes.